So today we're doing a bit of a deep dive into what might, at first glance, appear to be one of the most mundane subjects imaginable.
Right. Daily routine.
Exactly, just the simple daily routines of two people, Jeremy and Olivia. But as we know, the architecture of our daily lives, that's where all the interesting stuff is hiding.
It really is. It's the operating system we all run on. And what makes this particular source material so fascinating, so pure in a way, is where it comes from.
Yeah, this isn't some dense psychological study.
Not at all. It's from an English conversation guide. So think of it as these perfectly distilled little narratives. They're designed to teach language.
Which is perfect for us. It means there's no noise, no jargon, just, raw data presented in the clearest way possible. So our mission for you, the learner, is pretty simple.
Mm-hmm.
We are going to compare the micro decisions that make up the routines of Jeremy and Olivia. We'll lay their days side by side and hopefully extract some of the deeper behavioral patterns hidden in these simple sentences.
And the goal here is really twofold. First, just to understand how these tiny daily choices create completely different personal rhythms. And second, and this is crucial, to appreciate how brilliant the source is.
How it uses that simple language.
Exactly, how it uses basic language to communicate these really complex individual patterns. We'll move chronologically from the moment they wake up to when they go to sleep, and we'll note every little difference.
Pet care, food choices, all of it.
All of it, and what those details really imply.
It's an exercise in deriving maximum meaning from minimum data. So let's start at the beginning of the day, because the differences are immediate.
Oh, they're huge. And they really predict everything that comes after.
Okay, so section 1, the morning. Where's the first split?
Well, the first thing you notice is the 90-minute gap in when they wake up. And this is the engine that drives the whole comparison. You have Olivia, we can call her the early riser. She wakes up at 7 a.m.
7 a.m. That
Yeah.
feels like the institutional alarm clock time, you know?
Ah.
It's perfectly aligned with the 9 to 5 world.
It is.
And her actions are so immediate. The source says she wakes up, gets out of bed, and brushes her teeth. There's no snooze button, no negotiation.
No hesitation.
None. It's just this efficient, sequential readiness for the day. It's like immediate physical deployment.
Exactly. Her system seems highly optimized, maybe even a little rigid. Now, contrast that with Jeremy, the late starter. He's up at 8:30 a.m.
A whole hour and a half later.
and with the explicit note that he likes sleep. Now, that's not just a fact. It's a statement of preference. It's prioritizing recovery over, morning structure.
That 90-minute gap is the first major clue. I mean, if you start your day that much later, every single action that follows has to be faster.
Or you just have a very flexible job.
Right. Or you're just okay with starting your workday later. For Jeremy, that relaxed start suggests one of those two things.
And this difference in timing, it bleeds directly into what we've been calling their dependency comparison.
This is where the simple language gets really revealing.
It is. What is the first non-essential thing they need to do?
For Olivia, it's purely physical. It's fuel. After she brushes her teeth, she makes coffee, and she says, "I need coffee every morning."
Not I like, but I need.
It's a declaration of necessity. It's her physiological transition device, that chemical kickstart she has to have to become, functional.
She's internally dependent on that caffeine.
Totally.
Jeremy, though, he does his basic prep washes his face, but then what does he do?
He goes straight for the phone.
Straight for the phone. Messages, emails, social media. His dependency is external. It's an immediate tethering to the digital world, to the social flow.
Before he's even really ready to face the physical world.
Yes, that's a classic cognitive split, isn't it?
Yeah.
It just sets the tone for their entire days. Olivia is basically saying, I have to prime my internal engine before I can deal with the outside world.
And Jeremy is saying, I need to check the outside world to figure out what my internal state should be.
And that has these huge cascading effects. I mean, think about cognitive load. By choosing the coffee, Olivia gets immediate clarity, some focus, but she's also using up her primary tool, caffeine, right at the start.
Whereas Jeremy, by checking his phone, he might feel more connected, but he's immediately opening himself up to stress, to distraction.
To other people's agendas.
Yes, he's fragmenting his focus before he's even had breakfast. If he starts his day reacting to emails, he is already spending his cognitive energy on someone else's priorities. He starts in a reactive state.
And Olivia, in her efficiency, she protects that initial window of clarity. She devotes it entirely to self-maintenance. That protection is key.
The difference is even there in what they drink.
Right. Jeremy drinks tea. He explicitly says he doesn't like coffee much,
And the source text mentions that this detail surprises Olivia.
which just confirms how deep her own dependency is. For her, coffee is universal. It's the default.
But for Jeremy, tea, which is often, a lower caffeine, smoother kind of ramp up, it fits his 8.30 start perfectly. He doesn't need that high-octane jolt.
He's going for a gentler, more sustained energy build. His whole routine allows for that slower pace.
Then we get these wonderful and actually really critical details about their pets.
Which anchor their routines in reality. These aren't just abstract schedules. They're governed by dependents who need to be cared for.
So Jeremy feeds his cat, Luna.
And the description is just perfect. She gets mad if I wait too long.
Huh. So the cat schedule is actually imposing structure on Jeremy's late start. Luna is the external force preventing 8.30 from becoming 9.00.
That phrase "gets mad" communicates an emotional, unavoidable deadline. It's brilliant.
Okay, now contrast that with Olivia. She walks her dog, Max, but after she's had her coffee,
Notice that sequence.
it's everything. For Jeremy, the cat is maybe the third thing he does right after the phone check. For Olivia, Max is priority number 4, only after her core needs, waking, brushing, coffee are met.
It just cements their priorities again. Jeremy integrates his dependence care right into that flow of external information. Olivia treats it like a scheduled task that happens only after her own system is online.
The cat is an alarm clock for Jeremy. The dog walk is a calendar event for Olivia.
So this whole early sequence, it just defines their entire organizational style. Olivia, the 7 a.m. riser, is all about that internal physiological focus. Efficiency, caffeine, structure.
And Jeremy at 8:30 is about external connection. His routine is gentler, it's immediately tied to the outside world, both digital and, well, feline.
And you have to wonder, that 90-minute head start and the caffeine reliance, it means Olivia is probably going to hit an energy plateau much earlier in the day.
Which means she'll need very different break strategies than Jeremy. And that's a thread we have to follow into the next section, how they actually fuel these very different systems.
So with the first dependencies met, they move on to sustenance, breakfast. And again, their priorities are completely distinct.
Olivia sticks to her theme, efficiency, simplicity. Her breakfast is quick options, toast, fruit, yogurt.
It's about minimizing time and decision fatigue. She has these standardized sort of grab-and-go options.
Which makes perfect sense with her early start. If you're up at 7 a.m., you're optimizing your morning for productivity, not for a big cooking session. Simple food means predictable energy and, maybe more importantly, predictable timing.
But Jeremy, he's willing to invest a good chunk of his morning in preparation. He doesn't just grab something. He makes a smoothie.
And he lists the ingredients. Bananas, strawberries, milk in a blender. That little recipe detail is such a great anchor, both for the language learner and for us.
It is. But for our analysis, it means he's making an active choice. He's using equipment. It requires cleanup. He's mixing specific things.
He's prioritizing what he sees as a healthy and customized meal. This confirms he's willing to introduce a bit more complexity into his morning.
And Olivia's response in the source material is so telling. She says, "That sounds good. Smoothies are healthy."
That's the whole difference right there. Olivia wants simple food. Jeremy wants healthy food. Simple is about minimizing friction. Healthy, in this case, means maximizing nutritional input, even if it adds 10 minutes of prep and cleanup.
And you can connect that to their work later on. Jeremy's tasks, writing, planning, editing videos, they all need sustained creative energy.
Good point.
So maybe he consciously chooses this nutrient-dense smoothie to fuel that kind of work. Olivia's work is more about coordination and response, so she just needs consistency and speed.
And just think about the physical setup. The blender, the cleanup, having fresh fruit on hand. Jeremy tolerates a higher level of environmental complexity than Olivia seems to.
It seems so. This tolerance for complexity, it extends to the next step, the getting ready sequence.
Olivia's routine is still very structured. After breakfast, she showers, gets dressed, brushes her hair. It's the standard linear physical checklist.
Jeremy's sequence is similar physically, but he adds a sensory layer. He explicitly says, "I like to listen to music while I get ready."
And that's a really crucial distinction. He doesn't just see getting ready as a list of tasks. He sees it as an experience to be personalized.
He's adding auditory stimulation, which, given his digital-first morning, fits this pattern of relying on external sensory input to, shift his mental state.
Right. Olivia's routine is all silent efficiency. Jeremy needs a soundtrack for his transition. And for you listening, that's a really relatable difference. Are you someone who needs quiet focus in the morning, or are you putting on music or a news report?
And we should touch on the language here, because that's the point of the source. The simplicity of the verbs: I eat breakfast, I take a shower, I get dressed.
Yes, the use of the simple present tense is so powerful. It tells you these are not one-off events. They are defining habits. The source doesn't bother with complex grammar because the whole point is to describe the enduring structure of their lives.
The simplicity lets the learner focus on the objects and activities. The complexity is in the nouns: smoothie, toast, Luna, Max, music, not the grammar.
Okay, so the preparation phase is done. They're fueled and primed in very different ways, and now they move into the workday, which is where these organizational styles really start to clash.
The way they actually begin their work segment, it just reveals everything about how they organize their professional lives. We're talking about their mental operating system for the day.
Jeremy kicks things off with a very clear top-down approach. He turns on his computer, checks his schedule, and focuses on, and I quote, what I need to do.
He needs a map before he starts the journey.
Exactly. He's setting his own targets. He's mapping out his energy. We could call it offensive structuring. He's defining his day before the world can define it for him.
That's a great way to put it. Now contrast that with Olivia. She starts with a bottom-up, responsive approach. She usually reads her emails first.
So she's immediately focused on triage, on handling incoming information. She's employing what we could call defensive structuring. Her first priority is managing the inbound flow, making sure there are no fires to put out before she can start her own work.
And that choice, schedule first versus email first,
Yeah.
that might be the single most important productivity decision anyone makes in a workday. Jeremy is protecting his focus by prioritizing his planned tasks.
And Olivia is protecting her organization by prioritizing communication flow.
And this choice reflects their morning habits perfectly. Jeremy, who had that later, more relaxed start with the smoothie and the music, he needs the schedule to impose some discipline on his creative day.
Whereas Olivia, who's already running on this rigid, efficient internal clock, she can afford to dedicate her initial energy to being responsive because her own internal structure is already rock solid.
And their actual work tasks just confirm this. Jeremy is writing, planning lessons, editing videos.
Deep work activities.
Exactly. They require big, uninterrupted blocks of time. His offensive scheduling is essential to protect those blocks.
And Olivia, she's answering messages, preparing materials, starting meetings or calls. That sounds much more like coordination or management, roles that are inherently responsive.
She's the hub of connection. He's the content factory.
So then the sources shift to breaks. And the guide itself says that breaks are important, which is a nice universal truth to include.
But the type of break they take is what's so revealing. Olivia takes short breaks. She'll stretch or drink water. This is pure physiological maintenance.
It's brief, it's efficient, and it's designed to keep her physical system running without interrupting her flow for too long.
She treats the break as a necessity to maintain momentum, not as a mental reset, which is different from how they approach lunch.
Right. For lunch, Jeremy is all about speed. Something fast, he says. A sandwich, soup, leftovers. It's just light, functional fuel.
Olivia, interestingly, goes for salads. She says they're easy and healthy, so she's balancing wellness with speed, which reflects her earlier comment about Jeremy's healthy smoothie.
Good catch. Okay, but now we get to the post-lunch actions. This might be the most telling comparison of the whole workday. It's all about energy management.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Jeremy sometimes goes for a walk, and he says it helps me clear my mind. This physical movement, this separation from his desk, is a true mental recharge.
The walk is essential for him. Remember, he had that gentler start, but he also immediately flooded his brain with digital input. So the walk is his way of clearing out all that accumulated cognitive noise.
It's his planned, structured break from focus so he can get back to creative work in the afternoon.
Olivia, on the other hand, uses the afternoon to finish more work. Her priority is task completion. She wants to keep that momentum going.
So while Jeremy is seeking a cognitive breakthrough movement, Olivia is seeking a psychological breakthrough completion.
She is just relying on pure internal focus in the momentum she built at 7 a.m. to power through.
So, using our framework, Jeremy, the offensive scheduler, uses a physical break to reorient his attack for the afternoon. Olivia, the defensive structurer, uses her existing momentum to maintain her defense until the workday is over.
And it makes you wonder about their energy reserves. Olivia started fast and hard with caffeine. If she doesn't get that mental reset, she could risk burnout by 4 p.m.
And Jeremy, by taking that walk, is actually optimizing his attention span for a longer, more sustained output.
And again, the language here is so direct. I go for a walk, I finish more work. Simple declarative statements. They tell you these are deliberate, habitual choices.
That simplicity just underscores the importance of the habit. The workday's ending, and now we get to see how they transition into the final part of the day, relaxation.
Okay, so the workday is over. You have to make that deliberate transition out of work mode. And this is where we see their decompression styles.
For Olivia, the transition is immediate and pretty broad. She relaxes by watching TV, reading a book, or cook dinner.
It seems to be about immediate detachment, passive enjoyment like TV or reading or a routine task like cooking. It's all very low friction relaxation.
Jeremy also cooks, but he gets very specific. He mentions his favorite things to make: pasta or rice bowls.
That specificity suggests that for him, cooking is more of a dedicated hobby. It's not just making food, it's a hands-on creative outlet.
The difference between cooking dinner and making pasta or rice bowls is actually quite significant. Jeremy is investing creativity there, just like with his smoothie in the morning or his video editing during the day. He uses tactile engagement to relax.
It's like his final creative output of the day, shifting from digital content to culinary content.
After dinner, they both return to their pets, which is this wonderful universal anchor in a routine. Olivia watches a show or plays with her dog, Max.
And Jeremy plays with his cat, Luna.
This time with their pets, it forces them to be present. It removes the need for complex human conversation. It's a crucial part of winding down.
Definitely. But after that, we see another key difference in how they approach tidying up and preparing for the next day. Jeremy integrates a small, functional cleanup task.
Right, he washes dishes, takes out the trash, things like that.
This small act of tidying is his way of completing the cycle of external engagement. He's clearing his physical environment before he rests, which reduces friction for the next morning.
And that contrasts so sharply with Olivia. She seems to bypass that kind of functional maintenance and focuses entirely inward for her final prep. Her pre-sleep routine is purely sensory.
The warm shower.
Exactly. She takes a warm shower before bed and emphasizes, "It helps me relax."
That shower is her primary relaxation ritual. It's physiological signaling. She's using heat and sensory input to deliberately lower her internal state of arousal so her high-efficiency system can finally power down.
So if Jeremy cleans up to prepare the environment for the next day, Olivia showers to prepare her body. Her whole routine prioritizes her internal state, and the warm shower is the final, powerful reinforcement of that.
And Jeremy's final pre-sleep routines are a bit more varied. He listens to music or reads. One is intellectual, one is sensory, but neither is as fundamentally physical and internal as Olivia's shower ritual.
This final analysis just confirms the patterns we saw in 7 a.m. Olivia's routine is structured, physiological, and internally regulated. Jeremy's is more flexible, externally connected, and it integrates sensory input and functional tasks into his process.
So we've now tracked their complete 24-hour cycle. We've seen how single choices, coffee versus phone, smoothie versus toast, a walk versus more work build, two completely different but, equally valid structures for living.
The depth of insight you can get, just because the source language is so clear and simple, is really astounding.
So let's try to pull the main threads together here. For me, the most powerful insight is just how detailed and different two routines can be, even when they're described with the most basic language possible.
Yes. The simplicity of the language doesn't cancel out the complexity of the behavior. In fact, it highlights it.
It really does.
And for you, the learner, the biggest value here is the utility of that language. The guide teaches you exactly what you need to describe your own day in clear, concise terms. I wake up at, I go to work, I take a break.
And I relax in the evening. And it relies almost entirely on that simple present tense, which is the perfect choice for teaching about habits.
Because the simple present tense asserts routine. It asserts permanence. It says, this is what I always do, which is the very definition of a personal structure.
It shifts the focus entirely onto the what and the when. You don't have to worry about complex grammar. You just focus on the behavioral choice. What do you use? Coffee, tea, salad. Who do you interact with? Luna, Max.
And if we apply our frameworks one last time, Olivia's early physiological offensive structure, it guarantees efficiency, but it requires serious discipline and these clear resets, like her shower.
In Jeremy's later external defensive structure, it allows for flexibility and creativity, but it requires those deliberate external breaks like his walk to manage all the cognitive input.
This kind of clarity, Delivered through simple language, it allows for immediate pattern recognition. The learner understands not just the words, but the life behind the words.
So we want to leave you with a final challenge, a provocative thought to consider as you reflect on your own 24 hours.
If these two simple daily routines define their energy and their focus, if your whole day is dictated by whether you grab the coffee and the phone first, what is the single most defining habit in your routine?
The one that dictates the flow and the energy of everything else.
Is it checking your email before your schedule? Is it the quick slice of toast versus the 10 minutes it takes to make something customized?
That single tiny decision, often one we make without even thinking, that's the fulcrum. That's what your efficiency, your mood, your focus all pivots on.
And understanding the structure of these simple stories allows us to better understand and maybe even optimize the structures of our own much more complex lives.
Thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive into the surprisingly powerful world of simple daily routines.
We hope that breaking down these clear information structures gives you both a set of practical language tools and some deeper behavioral insights into the rhythm of your own day.
Until next time, keep analyzing the mundane, because that's where the structure that governs everything really lies.